Sister, wife, please my mother drop your knife. It can result to a loss of a life. Do not violate a right. Oh, my daddy is a right. Do not force that to a night.
Good day, viewers and listeners. My name is Labia Majora. I am happy to welcome you to our virtual learning class on gender-based violence. This program is brought to you by the Network Against Gender-Based Violence in partnership with ActionAid International, the Gambia, with funding from Amplify Change. Class 7 will be presented by Halimatu Jallow Jisorobo, who will take us through the structures and functions of the female external genitalia, female genital mutilation, its complications, and its relation to COVID-19.
Good day, viewers and listeners. My name is Halimatu Jallow Jisorobo, and our topic today that we are going to discuss is on female genital mutilation. We are going to start with the structures and functions of the female external organs and then move on to female genital mutilation. Our presentation outline will take us through the terminologies, the female external genitalia, female genital mutilation, types of FGM, complications, is FGM justifiable, the vulnerability of FGM to children during the COVID-19, recommendations and conclusions. Terminologies. The word labia. If you are maybe aware that most of the words in the medical field is borrowed from Latin. So where we see labia, it means lips. Where we see majora, it means larger or bigger. And where we see minora, it means smaller. The female external genitalia. The external female structures are also collectively known as vulva. The name of structure and functions, the first one is the labia majora, and these are folds of hair covered skin that begin just next to the mons pubis, which protects the clitoris. The mons pubic is the big bone where the vulva lies. The labia minora extend medially to the labia majora, and it serves to protect the female urethra and the entrance to the reproductive tract. The clitoris, also known as glans clitoris, contains many nerves that make it important in sexual sensation and orgasm. It is the main sensory organ of a woman when it comes to sexuality. The urethra is a hole below the clitoris where the urine comes out, and the hymen is a thin membrane that sometimes partially covers the entrance to the vagina. The vaginal opening is located between the opening of the urethra and the anus. Dear listeners and viewers, now that we have completed the female external genitalia, in a summary, it is just to show that the female external genitalia, which is the also called the vulva, is the organs that protect the internal female genitalia. And it is also the main organ that is the sensory, or we can say it the brain to sexuality when it comes to women. It is also the vulva that helps when women are having sex or when women are going through delivery. So these are very good organs that God have given us that should be protected. So now we are going to link it to female genital mutilation, also known as FGM, to see, now that we know what is the normal, what is being removed. The meaning of female genital mutilation, it is all procedures involving partial or total removal of the external female genitals or injury to the external female genital organs for non-medical reasons. It means we are trying to remove what is normal in the female, what protects the female. There are 4 types of FGM. The first one, we call it clitoridectomy. If you remember in the normal anatomy, where you have the clitoris, which is the main sensory organ of the woman. The first type is cutting of small or all of it, removing that whole part that brings joy or brings sense when someone is engaging in sex. And it is the same organ that also help usually during birth. When you have the vaginal opening that needs to open, it will pull out because it is muscular and also sensory to help in the delivery of the head. The second one is called excision. Excision is removal of all the clitoris and some part of the labia minora. If you remember, the labia minora is the smaller lip. So in the second part, they are removing both the clitoris and some part of the labia minora, which is the smaller lip. And then the third one, which is the infibulation, is removal of the clitoris, labia minora, which is the small lip, and also the labia majora. In summary, it means that you are removing all those normal organs that are in the vulva that protects or helps the woman during sex and during reproduction. And in addition to that, the opening of the vagina is also partially sealed or stitched, leaving a very small hole only for menstrual flow. And the fourth one is called unclassified, because we cannot put them in any of the three, because it includes pricking, piercing, or stretching of the clitoris and or labia minora or majora. So these are the 4 types of FGM that are commonly happening in the world, including the Gambia. In the Gambia, most of the time, you find people doing type 1, 2, or 3, which is more common because of the preservation of the virginity in sealing. Now we move on to the complications. Now that we have known the normal and what is female genital mutilation, and we now look at what are the complications. Immediately after an FGM is done, usually there is a lot of bleeding because the people that do it are not trained and they don't know where to cut. And sometimes you can have bleeding, excessive bleeding that can be harmful to the child. And because they cut the clitoris, if you remember during the normal anatomy, the urethral hole is below the clitoris. So when they tamper with the clitoris, most of the time there is swelling there and it can close or partially close the urethra, which can make the girl child during that FGM not to be able to urinate, and that's another problem. Another problem might be illness or high fever because of the infection that will come through. And all these 3, if they are not managed very well, the child can go into shock. In shock, usually you are very sick, your pulse is very, very high, and you are cold and clammy, sweaty, and if you are not managed or you did not reach medical attention, the child may die. So complications continue on side of the woman if he has successfully gone through the FGM without much problem with the immediate complication later in her life, because the type 3, where you are having sealing or partial stitching of the vaginal hole, you may have painful menses, because usually during menstruation, the blood will flow out normally. But when you are sealed, because the hole is small, most of the time it cannot come out normally. So because of that, you might have some of the menses staying back, which should have come out, and in the end you can experience painful menstruation. Women will also undergo painful sex, because like I said, when we were dealing with looking at the normal structure, the main function of the vulva, especially the clitoris, is for enjoyment. It's a sensory organ, and then if they cut the clitoris, they cut part of the labia majora. When it heals, it forms a scar, and usually in a scar it is not stretchable. And during sex, the vagina should stretch and the vulva would help in that stretching. But because of the scarring, it may not be able to do that. So therefore, some women who have experienced FGM, especially if you have gone the type 2 and the 3, would experience painful sex. You might also be at risk of catching STI, sexually transmittable infections, because if it is not done under hygienic condition, and most of the time the way they do it is more than 2 or 3 children. So if the bloods mix together or fluids mix together, if the one of the children were having an STI, it can be passed through there. It may also cause infertility because of the STIs if it goes inside the woman's reproductive organ, the internal organs, for example in the uterus or in the fallopian tubes. It may cause some infection there, and if it is not known early, it can result into infertility. Infertility means not able to have a child. It may also lead to complications during childbirth. I have already told you what the main function of the vulva is, also to help during delivery. And because of the scarring and because of not able to stretch, it may have complications for the mother and having prolonged labor. If the woman was supposed to be there 4 hours, it can end up being there 24 hours or more, and may even result into a cesarean section to remove the baby. And if care is not taken, if they are not able to act early, the woman may lose her life. In terms of the baby, because of the prolonged labor of the woman during childbirth, it may result to an abnormal baby, because the baby have overstayed, the bones of the brain have been overlapped for so long, affecting the brain. The child may come out a little subnormal or may even die before delivery. Is FGM justifiable? FGM has no benefits. Instead, it causes harm and malfunction of the woman in her sexuality. It can also cause to bad complications for women and the baby. So we are saying that FGM is not justifiable. There is nowhere where you see a medical reason why you need to carry a child or a woman through FGM. Vulnerability of children to FGM during the COVID-19, we just want to remind ourselves that yes, we are all in the COVID-19 period now, and we know that most of the children are at home because schools are closed, and most of the family members also are at home. Most of the non-essential workers are not going to work, and some of the businesses are closed. So we are saying that let us be aware that FGM can be occurring within our household, within our communities, because people are staying more at home and they can use that opportunity to carry the children to FGM. Recommendations. Report any case of suspected FGM to Alcalo, VDC or Chief, to the nearest police station, to Network Against Gender-Based Violence, Social Welfare, Women's Bureau, or contact the hotline 199, or contact any of the one-stop centers which are across most of the hospitals and the major hospitals. All the major hospitals and district hospitals are now one-stop centers. So if you hear or if you see or if you suspect, please report. You can tell your parent, the parent can go to any of these, or you can tell a friend or even yourself, or simply call the hotline, because the hotline is a free line. In conclusion, the female external organs are normal and are the main sensory organs during sex and help women to give birth. FGM should be stopped because of its harmful effects on women and girls' sexual and reproductive health. Be aware that FGM could be conducted during this COVID-19. It is mandatory to report cases of FGM to the authorities. Thank you, viewers and listeners. This was the presentation that I have for you today. And remember, we are talking about female genital mutilation, and our sponsors are Amplify Chain in partnership with ActionAid, and it was brought to you by the Network Against Gender-Based Violence, because we know now that we are all staying in the houses and children are at home, and children are vulnerable to all forms of gender-based violence, especially FGM. So we are telling all children and all our viewers and listeners who have seen us that let us be aware that during this time, children are vulnerable to female genital mutilation. Therefore, we are urging children to discuss this with their families, with their parents, with their elders, so that if we see anyone or suspect anyone that want to do FGM, they should report to the nearest health facility, to the hospitals, to the elders, to the health authorities, especially our hotline, which is 199, so that together we'll be able to protect the future generation of this country.
Dear viewers and listeners, my name is Honorable Patu Kinte, the Minister of Women, Children and Social Welfare. We are aware that in this period of COVID-19, parents may be tempted to circumcise their girls silently. Therefore, I would like to remind all of parents that FGM is illegal and punishable by law. Let's all desist from it and report cases to the nearest police station. Protect your children from COVID-19 by letting them stay at home. Regularly wash their hands with soap and running water. And above all, maintain social distancing. Thank you.
She's a sister, she's a wife. Please, my mother, drop your knife. It can result to a loss of a life. Do not violate a right. Oh, my daddy is a right. Do not force that to an alley my way. Do not